thought about developing some shows within other people within the network?
We did think that we should come up with an improv show to where somebody really animated could do a bunch of things in the moment on the show in real time. But when we tried to do it, the person that we thought was a superstar and could take the thing to the next level told us he'll get the out of his face, don't help with nothing, I don't need your I'm lit, it's my show, I'm running it. And then there's this other show we tried to start. We did try to start this real estate show before.
Is it true?
No, not necessary.
For half-stepping, Joe Budden confronts his co-host. Yes, Joe Budden would discuss bringing new shows to the network with his co-host on the final Joe Budden podcast episode. Now, it was instructive because only a few months prior, incorrect improvisation was the talk of the town. Recall that the program was transforming the Joe Budden Network's operations. It began as the brainchild of Queen's Flip and Joe Budden. However, it would take a sharp turn for the worse and disintegrate once Queen's Flip took over creative control.
Yep. And there goes him. Just ruined the whole show.
Joe would also disclose that he had originally intended for Ish to have a housing-related show. Unfortunately, that also didn't work out. What I'm trying to imply is that Joe is displaying something that he attempted to construct not too long ago, and he's probably not going to go that path now that the network is up, most likely as a result of this New York Times report. Elliman Manny's comment, "Oh, have y'all thought to build out any more shows, not just Mark Lemmon focused," started the entire discussion. Joel then began to discuss his proposed plans. As time passed, this was of no assistance to me other than to provide insight into how the network is now more or less operating itself than Joe was. For example, it doesn't seem like adding more shows is a priority now that they're ahead of schedule, and Joe even hinted that things could not proceed as planned now that he's 15 million up.
Start having these discussions with us more. I think everyone wants to grow and see what potential they can reach
That nigga Joe
outside of the
bullshitting,
couch.
man.
I agree with you. You make sense. I think we about 15 million.
However, what does this indicate about Queen's Flip's diminished leverage? The entrance of Mark Lamont Hill has resulted in a loss of leverage. The fact that Mark stepped into what everyone else should have stepped into, as you can see if you look at what has happened, says a lot. I believe that Mark began working more for the network without necessarily considering compensation. Additionally, if you notice, I believe Joe enjoys that. As if he enjoys seizing opportunities. He loves to give the impression that he can bring things in the door and then jump in when they work out. And I believe Mark is acting in that manner. However, this episode also had a humorous back and forth between Joe Budden and Queen's Flip, in which Joe Budden, albeit being lighthearted, told Flip to get off your phone.
I got you.
No, you don't.
Nigga said I got you.
There's a lot going on, bro. Want me to step off?
Yo, hold on.
Additionally, I believe that there will be greater repercussions for these on-air infractions once performance evaluation talks begin. Andy then brings up Mandy as well, asking, "Hey Joe, would you ever work with Mandy again?"
Some of that. That's the ops.
Neutral ops. Neutral ops can appear to be supported, but they hate you.
You know, he claims that she is somewhat of a neutral op. Now, the term neutral op refers to someone who poses as neutral, but actually engages in mad oppy. They'll enter or exit locations and act as though they're saying, "Oh, that's my guy. I'm so awesome with him." However, they use covert tactics, such as reposting and sharing your work before disparaging you in the back channels. It's a neutral opportunity. What should we do with the information that was disclosed on the podcast today? It's a confirmation that the show's cast will need to use far more forceful tactics if they wish to produce their own material on the Joe Budden network. For example, I believe they will need to follow Mark Lamont Hill's example. Joe might give you the bag on the pack end if you just start doing things for free. Like, I genuinely think that Mark Lamont was having a good time behind the scenes, and that's what actually happened. He was contributing to the stories, and a bond between him and Ian began to form. The other members were watching while they were robbed during that behind-the-scenes period. Isn't that correct? Behind the scenes, Flip would remark on things like, "Yo, I don't get paid for this." "Oh," said Ish and Ice, "why did you pull out this camera? You're spoiling the atmosphere." But my goodness, Mark spotted the chance when he saw that camera. Furthermore, it's not about glazing Mark or other things. You're glazing Mark, and I am aware that there are many people in the comments section. He believes that guys can become parents. Just take a look at his actions after joining the Drill Brother network. Even though it wasn't always in monetary terms, he recognized the value. You look up now and you see that many people would be disappointed if Ian and Mark stopped performing on the show. Due to Ian's pregnancy, Mark and Ian have had no published work for the past few weeks. And many people were asking, "Yo, where's the Ian and Mark show?" on Twitter and Patreon. Thus, it is how a network provides value. Whoever is in charge of the Joe Budden network will now turn around and declare, "Yo, we need this content." In contrast to Flip, who utterly failed at improper improv, that is how you obtain leverage.
You're scared of success, you get into this shell where anything that could help you be successful, you rather not do it and lean on all the ceremonies, people. Your face is on the billboard. We looking at you, not none of these up. And if the show is bad, just like the pod is bad, you know who it fall on when the pod is bad? They'll never come say y'all trash. It fall on me.
Joe, how you telling my man Ian to change the name when you backed out the first place? Hey, don't be telling
Why does he keep saying I backed out of something that's his?
Because he needs a crutch, buddy.
Yeah, like
He needs to use you as a crutch because
I don't need no. Well, y'all can say that, but listen. At the end of the day, if things don't go well the next time, if things don't go the way it's supposed to go, watch what I'm gonna do.
This guy, messed up during the 1986 World Series. He let it run straight through his legs in a typical play. He was given every opportunity to be successful. "Do you recall the set? I don't want the set at the podcast," he declared. "I can't bring the animals up here, you people. I would like to have the ability to bring the animals up here." Being acutely aware that, people lived in those circumstances, that isn't always possible. Why don't you just go up there with some puppies? Why don't you bring some chihuahuas or other toy breeds? Rather, you intended to bring a variety of exotic creatures, and they become upset when others don't find the movement appealing. Furthermore, he didn't even want Joe Budden on the show, and after he returned, every show began to fail. For example, it would begin with strong viewership before the viewership would decline, and even the wrestling element, which Mark had previously participated in, was rejected by Flip. Now, Flip argues that his motivation for going to wrestling school was not the only reason he did it. That makes sense then. However, I continue to believe that he wasn't as open to the circumstances. You may now see a situation where Flip is no longer required by the Joe Budden network. Leverage is lost. Flip has quietly resigned, and I believe that many people in my comment section are observing this, so it won't be long until Joe Budden or Ian Haas addresses Flip about his dynamic on air. What's the matter with Flip? He doesn't seem to be taking part as much. On many topics, he remains silent. He becomes silent for extended periods of time. It appears that he is unaware that he must attend to every topic. Now, this isn't a Flip segment hate. This is merely a genuine section because of tough Mark Lamont Hill's conduct. He's become more and more marginalized. He's acting like a role model for someone who recently joined the network, not necessarily because Mark Lamont Hill is after him. I think he's been with the network for less than a year. It will soon be a year, I believe. Therefore, the fact that he added so much value in such a short period of time shows how inadequate Flip and Amani are. You want a show now, Amani? I'm not sure. Perhaps we can have a conversation about it. The ball is then dragged. It is less combative. I believe that everyone on that show had a chance to contribute content to the network outside of ICE, but they only wanted their money. Although I agree that you should receive payment, I believe they wanted to take the lead and receive payment immediately. I believe Mark altered the paradigm, and his refusal to take money is likely causing resentment among network members. Many people, in my opinion, assume that Mark is compensated for the Ian and Mark show. I think things may have changed, but Mark was enjoying working for the JBN for free at one point. He was able to display a different side. Additionally, many people despise the Ian and Mark show despite the fact that it's controversial. This is somewhat novel for the hip-hop genre. These kinds of platforms don't actually produce any office-style shows. Dream Champs would never do it, for example. A game for millions of dollars would never cut it, so it is revolutionary in some respects. Naturally, the audio needs to be improved, and they stated that they will get better equipment because it sounds like something that college kids would do using a camera and no microphones. So it remains to be seen how the cast responds to this. Much of it was done with the best of intentions, but I'm not sure whether you could really accept things as just when they have real-world ramifications.
Mark completed tasks and received payment afterwards. Ish did tape a show related to housing, but it was never released. Numerous things happened, and it seems that Joe Budden's co-host on a show or network made a mistake. But please share your thoughts on this discussion with me. Do you believe that everyone ought to have stepped up, or that they ought to have done what they did and forced Joe to reveal the truth? Okay, everyone, that concludes my evaluation for today. Follow me on the Stop TV and Instagram. You may follow me on the Stop TV and Twitter. Keep up with me on the Stop Patreon.